Hey, good afternoon, everybody. So, I thought I'd pop on, and I thought we'd just have a chat, see how we're all doing, what we're all watching. Yeah, what have you been obsessing over this week? So I know for me, yeah, been a bit of a mixture. Obviously, Idaho, I think is always in our thoughts. And you know, what's going on there. And I've been looking a lot at the Murdaugh case because it's so complex. There is so many things that are kind of going on in this case. You've got the housekeeper, we've got the boat crash, which is really important because really this boat crash was the instigator of everything that we're seeing and why Alex is in court right now. Because really that boat crash really kind of snowballed, because it meant that, the family of Mallory, God bless her, they were looking for damages, and rightly so. And obviously that meant that Alex had to, give over his financials. And that's really where it all started to unravel for the whole family. So, yeah, so I've been looking at a lot of stuff with Alex. And I don't know. I don't get him. Hey, Diggler. Hey, darling. So good to see you. I like your Mr. Bean. Diggler, have you been watching some of the Murdoch stuff? I'm just finding it fascinating right now. And I know how to share my screen. So yay! Oh my god. I don't know how I've managed to kind of get everything working, but it is, and hopefully I can continue without too many issues. I'm sure I'm gonna lock myself out or do something. Yeah, so me too. Um it's just it's so complex. There's just so much that to kind of look at. And like I was just saying, how it all kind of unraveled really because of that boat crash, when poor Mallory lost her life, which was so sad because she was so beautiful, so young, and yeah, an accident that really shouldn't have happened. Thank you, hon. I'm sure I'm gonna probably lock myself out or something. But I'm so glad you're here with me, so I'm not all alone. So, I mean, what are you thinking with this Murdoch? Are you a bit like me? Because there's just I don't know. I mean, that's that's a massive deal, isn't it? I mean, he obviously loved his wife. I really think he loved his wife, and they seemed like whoever kind of you talk to, or whatever information or interviews people are giving, I'm not hearing anyone saying that, or they didn't get. I mean, there was some little murmurs, I think, and maybe this was brought on by the boat crash, of some stresses to do with the financials, and I know that his wife, she loved the beach house, and there was maybe some contention about whether that needed to be sold, because of all this financial stuff. Um, but really, there wasn't, no one's really coming out and saying, well, this was a toxic relationship. No one's coming out and saying that, There was affairs, not that I've heard of, and not yet. So that relationship, I mean, for him to, if we are to believe that this man cold-bloodedly murdered his wife and his son, which would have only have been for financial gain. I mean, it just, to me, yeah, absolutely. Like, it seems really hard to believe, doesn't it? Because he does. I mean, he really does seem to have idolised his wife. Absolutely. And his son. So I just don't get it. However, there was, when we look at some of the evidence, it's, I mean, it is pretty damning. And I don't know about you, Diggler, but I think the one thing, and I'm gonna play it and go kind of through it for anyone that's kind of gonna come back and hopefully kind of relook at this on the replay. And so I'm really interested in just starting to look at what actually happened when, when that 999 call was first made. And I think what's really important and really telling is, when he gets in the car and he's giving his first kind of statements to the police. I believe they was all in the car because it was really heavily raining that evening. But what really stuck out to me was how clean he was. I mean, not a spot of blood. And yet, he says that he checked their pulses, that I think he attempted to turn Paul over. So when we look at the injuries, which are, I mean, horrific. I mean, Paul almost had his head blown off. There was brain matter everywhere. I mean, trigger warning. It's graphic. It's graphic stuff. And yeah, he's sitting in the car and he looks like all his clothes have just been laundered freshly. Do you know, sometimes, isn't it? It's not what you see. It's not the evidence, that it's what you don't see. And I think this is like one of those cases, because what we don't see is evidence of any idea that he may have tried to kind of save his wife or son, or give them any medical aid, or take their pulses. I mean, why would you try and turn over Paul when it was obvious that half his head was gone? But even so, you would, there was blood everywhere, and yet he looks completely clean. And so for me, straight away, that was like, you know what? That doesn't look right. It really doesn't. That does not look right. So I'm so torn. I'm like really torn. And so yeah, I've been started watching the trial. And what really got me straight off as well was, and I don't know what you think about this, Stigler, but his attorney, I'm assuming, costs a lot of money. But his attorney seems like he's half asleep. And maybe now saying that maybe tiny blood splatter on his clothes. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, kind of maybe little spots. Was that maybe on his shoe? Or I think you're right, there is something like that, isn't there? So going back to his attorney, right, so we're told that he's got a lot of money, and yet, I mean, Christ alive, this guy, yeah, he looks like he should be in a nursing home. He doesn't seem to know where he is. I don't know if he even realizes he's in court. He's tripping over his words. He's mumbling half the time. He doesn't seem to know. He seems to question the judge a lot about what he's allowed to do, what he's allowed to object to, and what he's not allowed to object to. Where did he find him? What is this guy? Because he looks like a bumbling fool. And when you look at the statements, the opening statements of the prosecution and the defence, I mean, what a difference, miles apart. You've got a bumbling defence attorney who, like I said, looks like he's catatonic and, yeah, has been sedated in some way and should be in a nursing home. And then you've got the prosecution who came out like, whoa, they didn't, they didn't shy away from what he was accused of doing. You know, full force, loud, you know, in the jury's face. And so yeah, what a massive difference. And that really surprised me. That surprised me more than anything else was just how poor he seemed. I mean, to me, is he doing it for free? I mean, I don't understand it. I don't get it. Because, they've got to prove, they have to prove that this is, they can only find him guilty. There can't be any reasonable doubt. And I just don't see his attorney that he has right now being able to do that. Yeah, I just don't see it. I think he's just too weak. So I thought I'm gonna play the I'm gonna play the footage from the when he's in the car, and then I thought I'll go back over and just kind of stop it and then go over what I think. Yeah, I agree. I mean, so like you said, when a prominent member of society is killed or accused, yeah, I'm the same. I'm always a bit wary. And they do need to make sure that his enemies are not framing him. So I mean, who would have been his enemies? I mean, so we would and you're right, it's something we need to consider because I mean, it's possible, isn't it? And so therefore then we need to look at who would have had um who would have had a motive. And actually this motive is really important, isn't it? Because who would have had the motive to take out his wife and his son, but not him? That's quite interesting, isn't it? So who else in the whole world would have, if you really didn't like Alex, why would you, I mean, yeah, maybe it could be. I mean, it's possible. Yeah, absolutely, about the frame and obviously about the money. And then I kind of thought, well, I mean, political, maybe, but then he's kind of, um, I don't know. He didn't really have the power, did he? At the end, at that point, when that happened, a lot of his power had been taken away, I believe. But that doesn't again mean to say that there isn't someone in the political kind of circles that he was in that maybe Alex knew too much of something, but then wouldn't you just take Alex out? Why take out Paul and Maggie? And then I was thinking, well, what about if this was about Paul? What about if this was about the boat crash? And like you said, about the money. And so if we was to say, well, you know what? like, because of Paul, this young girl Mallory is dead. So if it was a revenge type thing, why would she take out his mum? Or was she just collateral damage? So, yeah, like, the money, I think Digger's really important, isn't it? Because obviously, like I said, this is where it all really started to unravel, because he had to show his finances, and really he was a bit of a con man. I mean, you know, he took money from these housekeepers' family. I mean, that's another whole rabbit hole. The housekeeper. So he didn't give that money to the family. I think there was a police officer who was injured, and he took on his case and kept the money. And I'm sure there's quite a few others as well. So money is a massive deal here, isn't it? So, when you look at what happened to Paul and Maggie, then you have to think, well, do you know what? The housekeeper, I know they've said it was a stroke, but was it? Because it seems a little bit shady. So honestly, I just don't know. So this whole case, I think it's going to go on for weeks, months, because there's so many avenues that I think they're going to, like, kind of go in and out. Yeah, there is some audio where he says about his son and how much he loves him, and the housekeeper, I'm definitely going to find some more footage on that, because it's really shady. Maggie, actually, she was the one that called 999 on that day, and I think they said, like, she tripped or fell, but then it then kind of changed to, well, she had a stroke, but was she pushed and fell and then that stress was there? So again, it's really like, I don't know how. Yeah, I mean, anything is possible. I guess that's what I'm thinking with this case, is anything is possible. Definitely. So I'm going to play this. And for anyone that's watching this on recap, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. What did you think about any of these issues, whether it's the boat crash, the housekeeper, obviously Maggie, Paul, Buster, because Buster is also another. I've been looking at Buster in the court. I did hear that he wasn't going to be in that court very much, but so far he has been. And again, I'm not seeing much emotion from Buster. So, and I don't know why. Is it just because he's really strong and he's kind of, I don't know, he doesn't want to, I mean, he doesn't want to show it, but then when they're talking about some of this graphic stuff and they're talking about it, I'm watching his face and there's very little reactions coming from him. But he's been supportive of his dad via the phone. I've heard quite a few of his phone calls, so I think that's another thing we'll look at. And how manipulative Alex is actually on those phone calls. So yeah, so the dynamics with Buster, that's another thing to look at. And where does he stand in all of this? Because he's lost his mom, he's lost his brother, and he may well now lose his dad, because he's going to be, he'll be in prison until he dies. So, and he's not young, is he, Alex? I can't see him lasting long. I mean, he's lost a lot of weight, and he looks to me like, I just don't see Alex being able to last long in prison. I mean, he can buy his way. He can, you know, he can put, you know, these money on inmates' books and stuff. But I don't know. Right. So, anyways, let me play this video, and then I'm going to go through it again, and we will just have a little bit more of a deeper dive into this. So hopefully I'm going to be able to get this playing, which will be good. Woohoo! Get me, Diggler! Ah. Right.
Are they breathing?
No, ma'am. My wife and my son.
And what is your name?
My name is Alec Murdaugh. Please hurry. Neither one of them's moving.
A prominent lawyer, an unfathomable tragedy, allegations of deceit.
He's a very caring person, and she was the rock of their family.
Do you think they will find who did this?
We certainly hope so.
Tonight, we'll break down the timeline of events, from the decades of power to the multiple investigations.
And so it makes you wonder, okay, is this alleged shooting connected in some way to the death of his son and his wife?
From the beginning to the most recent developments.
Obviously, everything is up for question now.
Including 2 deaths now being revisited by state investigators. And what's next for Alec Murdaugh?
This is a kind of story that really has no good ending.
Murdaugh, Death and Deceit starts now.
The mystery into the Murdaugh family has a tangled web of characters and events. For the next 30 minutes, we will unpack it all. Good evening. I'm Riley Miller. Over the last few months, the stories have only become more complex. But where do you begin? For this, we go back decades. For almost a century, a member of the Murdaugh family held the title of 14th Circuit Solicitor, covering 5 counties: Allendale, Beaufort, Colleton, Hampton, and Jasper.
The function of a solicitor in South Carolina is the same as the function of a people's attorney or a prosecuting attorney or a district attorney in other states, and that is to prosecute criminal cases.
As soon as the position of solicitor became an elected one in 1920, Hampton attorney Randolph Murdaugh Sr. was chosen for the job. He was killed in a train wreck in 1940 and was succeeded by his son Randolph Buster Murdaugh, who held the position until his retirement in 1986. Buster's son Randolph Murdaugh III was then elected and served until 2005.
His influence was not limited to this circuit. As solicitors in South Carolina are political animals, they necessarily have political bonds that they maintain. And I think that used to be a lot more important when Buster was coming up than it is now.
But the influence of the family extended beyond the role of solicitor. The family's powerful law firm, today known as PMPED, has been in operation for more than a century.
That law firm has some really, really fine lawyers who just happen to be very, very skillful.
PMPED accused Alec Murdaugh, Randolph III's son, of stealing money from the firm at the beginning of September. Alec resigned, but his brother Randolph Murdaugh IV is still listed on the firm's website.
Right. Hold on a minute. Sorry, I'm just laughing at myself. That's not the video that I just wanted to play. It's like oh my god, I'm going to be doing this so much. Right, so that is a very interesting video, but it's not really the one that I wanted, so I'm just going to just change it basically. Okay, what do I do? Let's go to okay. Right. Okay.
You want a totally dry one? No. Okay. I don't want to cut another one. Okay.
Please just bear with me just for 1 minute.
Rains and I'll put one on.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I see it. This guy knows for us.
What am I doing, Hayley? I will get there, I promise you. But the one that I want to watch, right, is definitely this one. Right, I'm just going to pause it.
How far to Orlando? 5 hours.
Okay, pause. Okay, let me just come back to you here. Right. I'm really sorry about this, guys, honestly. Right. I'm going to stop that screen. And, okay. Share screen. Chrome tab. Okay. Yeah, I think I might have done it. Yeah. Right. Okay. Right. I've got the one that I want now, so I'm really sorry about that. But this is the one that I really want to look at because I just find it. I just think it's so telling. So I'm just gonna go back. I want to close that one off. Thank you. And right, let's do this one. All right. Here we go. You know what? I can't believe that.
I do my. I let the house
I
run
actually came off video and redone it. Right.
12:57.
Sorry. I'm gonna stop talking. So remember, we want to look
All right,
at
Mr.
body
Murdaugh,
language,
just
and
take
what
your
he
full
says,
name for me, please.
and how he looks.
Richard Alexander Murdaugh.
And spell your last name so I get it correct.
Murdaugh.
All right. And you go by Alec?
Yes, sir.
And date of birth, Mr. Murdaugh?
May 27th, 1968.
And a good phone number for you.
803-942-1227.
All right, sir. And sir, what was your name?
Yeah, Danny Henderson.
Okay. All right. As I stated, I'm David Owen in Lower Rutland with Colleton County, and I'm with SLED. I hate to have to do this.
I understand.
Yeah.
I totally understand.
Yeah.
So you don't have any problem with it.
So just start at the top, take your time.
Like when I came back here, I mean, I pulled up and I could see them, and I knew something was bad. I ran out. I knew it was really bad.
Trigger warning.
My boy over there, I could see it was.
So sorry.
And I could see his brain on his. and I ran over to Maggie. And actually, I think I tried to turn Paul over first. You know, I tried to turn him over, and I don't know, I figured it out. His cell phone popped out of his pocket. I started to try to do something with it, thinking maybe, but then I put it back down really quickly. Then I went to my wife, and I mean, I could see.
Did you touch Maggie at all?
I did. I touched them both.
Okay.
I tried to take, I tried to do it as limited as possible, but I tried to take their pulse on both of them. And, you know, I called 911 pretty much right away. And she was very good. I told her I was going to get off the phone to call some family members. I did that.
What family members did you call?
I called my brother Randy, and I called my brother John. And I tried to call a little boy, real good friend that's right around the corner from here, but I didn't get him.
What all was around Paul when you walked up?
Blood.
Anything else?
I mean, there were some body things, yes, sir.
I mean, like any other evidence? I know you said the phone fell out the pocket, but did you see anything else that didn't belong or shouldn't belong or that wasn't part of Paul?
No, sir, not. No, sir.
How about Maggie?
No, sir.
You didn't see anything around them? What made you come out here tonight?
I went to, my mom's a late stage Alzheimer's patient. My dad's in the hospital. My mom gets anxious when she does. I went to check on them and Maggie. Maggie's a dog lover, and she fools with the dogs. And I knew she'd gone to the kennel. I was at the house. I left the house and went to my mom's for just a little while. Tried to call her when I left. Texted her, no response. When I got back to the house was obviously nobody was in there. So I figured they're still up here fooling around. Paul was going to be getting set up to plant. Our sunflower seeds got sprayed and died, and he was refiguring to plant the sunflower seeds. So I came back up here and I drove up and saw and called.
Had Maggie and Paul been arguing over anything?
No.
What was their relationship like?
Wonderful.
Wonderful. How about yours and Maggie's?
Wonderful. I mean, I'm sure we had little things here and there, but we had a wonderful marriage, wonderful relationship.
And yours and Paul's relationship?
As good as it could be.
How old was Paul?
22.
Okay. You know his date of birth?
I do. April 11th, 96 is his brother's. April 14th, 99 is Paul's.
What's Maggie's full name?
Margaret Brandstetter Murdaugh.
And her date of birth, sir?
September 15th, 1968.
Have y'all been having any problems out here? trespassers,
None
people
that,
breaking in?
none that I know of. The only thing that what comes to my mind is my son Paul was in a boat wreck a couple years ago, and there's been he was charged with being arrested for being the driver. There's been a lot of negative publicity about that, and there's been a lot of people online just really vile stuff. But when Paul's out and about, I mean, people routinely, I don't think I know the full story, so I don't think they give it to me, but I mean, he's been punched and hit and just attacked a lot. So, but I mean, nothing like this.
Yeah. Any one person in particular or group of people?
I don't know.
That you could think of?
Not that I know, no, sir.
Has he, other than being assaulted, has he received any direct threats related to the boat accident?
Oh, yes. All the time he gets
recently?
Threats. Yes, sir. I mean, he gets them all the time.
Okay.
He gets them all the time.
What kind of, I mean?
I'm gonna kick your ass, I've never been privy firsthand,
Is that through social media or?
No, ma'am. It's mostly like if he goes out places is what he goes out like somewhere. He's in college, so if he goes out is what I understand. I can find out better details from some of his younger friends on that.
Who's his best friend?
His best friend in Colombia is Will's Chapman, Will Loving, Bobby Boyle. Bobby Boyle, Will Chapman, and Paul were getting ready to move into a house together in Colombia.
You said Will Chapman and Will Loving?
Will's with an S, okay. Chapman, and Will with an L, Loving.
Okay.
Around here, his best friends are clearly Nolan Tootin and Rogan Gibson.
Nolan Tootin?
Yes, sir.
And what was the other one? I'm sorry.
Rogan Gibson.
Have you talked with any of these guys tonight?
Talked with Nolan, yes, sir.
Is he out here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I tried to call Rogan, was one of the people he's the boy that I told you lives around the corner. Okay. That's very, he's just a good, helpful young man. You mind if I open the door really quickly?
Go right ahead. Do what you need to do. So is there anybody that you can think of that we need to talk to tonight? Is there a name that comes to mind?
I mean, I can't tell you anybody that I'm overly suspicious of off the top of my head.
Okay.
I mean, this is such a stupid thing. I'm even embarrassed to say it, but it just didn't make any sense. I just hired a guy out here, and he wasn't cutting the mustard, but I hadn't told him this yet. Paul's been working with him a lot. He killed the sunflower seeds in our dove field just recently, which is why Paul was here doing this. He told Paul a story the other day about how when he was in high school, he got in a fight with some black guys, and the FBI undercover team observed him fighting those guys and put him on an undercover team with 3 Navy SEALs, and that their job was to kill radical Black Panthers. And they did that from Myrtle Beach to Savannah. Now, I really don't think this guy, is probably the person, but that's just so friggin'.
Yeah, that's kind of far-fetched story.
It's weird, but he was off today.
Okay.
He took his daddy to the doctor.
What's his name?
CB Rowe.
ROWE?
Yeah, and I sent him a message to text me earlier today about sunflowers, and he called me back when I was on the way to my mom's house.
Did you talk to him at that time?
Briefly, I was on the phone with a lawyer friend of mine named Chris Wilson from Bamberg, so I told him I'd call him back tomorrow, see him in the morning.
When you briefly talked to Mr. Rowe, what was his demeanor or attitude? Or
I mean, it seemed normal. I mean, I asked him about the sunflowers, and so, you know, I mean, I'm sure he's a little bit.
Where does he live?
I don't exactly know. Somewhere in in Bronson.
Okay. Do you have his phone number?
I do.
You got it with you, please, sir?
I do. You know, but I do think him and Paul got along pretty well. That's just really, really weird. All right. CB.
Right there in your lap.
Here, I know he called me, so I'll go to that. Okay.
843-540-9335.
You need to get that phone on the charge, Alec, if you can.
Is that an iPhone?
Yes, sir.
Watch your leg for a second, please.
Thank you.
When did he tell that story to Paul?
Sometime last week.
Okay.
Sometime last week. My son Paul actually, I really do not think, in all honesty, that it's him, but I know y'all got to check it out. But Paul was so taken aback by it that he sent, I'll find it, I got it on my phone. He recorded him saying bits and pieces of it.
Okay.
No. But for all his weirdness, I do think they got along pretty good.
How long had he been working here?
I guess about 3 or 4 pay periods, so 8 weeks, a couple months.
Okay. Going back to the boat incident, anybody on that boat really have a hard-on for Paul that you would think would come after him, or know of any direct threats from people on the boat?
I don't know of any direct threats between any of the people on the boat specifically, but I do think there's been a small amount of yip-yap between a couple of them, but not recently.
Okay.
Most of this was stuff from people that Paul didn't really know.
Okay.
It was some people that he knew distantly, but more times than not, when I learned about it, it was somebody that he didn't know.
Okay.
It's like, for example, he went out in Charleston a couple months ago, came back, he got a black eye. And, he can't defend himself right now because he has these charges. So, Paul was a real tough man's man. You know, he would just.
He would defend himself, but he hadn't been.
That's right. But
How was he handling that case? Looming over everybody.
as far as what?
How was he handling it?
Never been prouder of him than the way he has handled the pressures and the adversity in that situation. I think I've told Danny that before. I mean, Paul is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful kid. He can do almost anything. He gets along with almost anybody.
Do y'all store any weapons out here?
We don't store them, but they're frequently out here. I need to find out if there were any out here because I know there was a shotgun. There was a 12-gauge shotgun out here. I'll have to find out exactly when that was. I think it got put up, but I'm not positive.
What did that shotgun look like?
It was a camouflage. I want to say it was a Benelli or maybe a Beretta. I can't remember which brand it is. But I don't think it was out here.
Okay.
Recently. But I'm not positive.
And the shotgun that you had when deputies pulled up, where did that come from?
I went to the house and I got a gun. Probably overreacting, but.
And was that when you pulled up and saw them?
No, I came out and I called 911 first. Talked to them for a little while, and then I told her.
You told her
that I was going to go to the house.
Okay.
And that I would let authorities know when they got here that I had a gun.
Okay. Do you happen to have a list of all your guns?
I can make one. I don't have one, but I can make one.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying, so we could compare if that shotgun was out here and now it's missing.
Absolutely.
Try to figure that out.
No, absolutely.
And I know living out here in the country, you probably have more than one or two.
We do. We probably have 20, 25 guns.
Yeah. Shotguns, rifles.
Pistols.
Any rifles?
Yes, sir.
What kind of rifles?
All kinds.
Yeah.
All kinds. You name it across the board, we have them.
Okay.
And all of them we have are, in a hunting room in our house.
What was their schedule today? When did they get home?
My son works for my brother, and he was coming home to deal with the sunflowers. He got here. He got here pretty early because he and I rode around looking at everything for a good little while, probably 45 minutes to an hour. Maggie had things she did in Charleston, and she had a doctor's appointment in Charleston, and she got back here. It was fairly late.
Was it dark yet when Paul got home?
No, Paul got home early.
Early, okay. So before dinner time? Or
oh, yes, ma'am.
Lunchtime? Or
no, ma'am.
What brother does Paul work for?
John Marvin.
And what does Paul do for him?
Everything.
Just handyman?
Yes, sir.
was it unusual for Maggie to feed the dogs this time of night or check on them?
Oh, no. She played with those dogs all the time. And it's especially common for her to, she's been gone for a while, to come and let especially 2 of them out to run.
Okay, so she pretty regularly comes out here in the evenings.
Very regularly.
Okay.
She comes out here a lot.
Do you have any cameras on your property?
I have deer cameras, but none, you know, around up here
Where are they at?
on different deer stands.
Okay, so deep in the woods.
Well, not necessarily deep in the woods. Some of them are in fields and
Okay.
but I don't. There's none that, you know, are near here.
Okay.
What doctor's appointment? What doctor did Maggie see today?
I forget the guy's name. Maggie's been having trouble with her. She's been having trouble with her stomach and her tooth. I'm not positive. It was sort of a routine visit, and I can't remember. She told me the name of him, and I can't. I want to say Gordine
Okay.
is who I think she saw.
So was she back home around supper time? Or 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock?
I don't think she got back quite that early. I think she got back a little bit later than that.
Okay. What did you do today? Were you at the office or?
Nope, I was home. I came home. Paul and I messed around. I was up at the house. Laid down, took a nap on the couch, probably, I don't know, 25, 30 minutes. I got up, I called Maggie, didn't get an answer, and I left to go to my mom's. She had said she might ride with me, but she normally doesn't when I go over there. And I think I texted her. And she's very good about answering the phone, so that was odd, or calling me back. So that was odd, but it wasn't that big a deal.
Now, what time was that?
What time was what?
That you sent her a text message.
All right. I texted her at 9:08, going to check on M, be right back. And then I texted her at 9:47. That must be when I started to come back. I think I called her before that. But let me make sure. Pretty sure that I called her 9:45. And then I tried Paul. And then, no, I think that was riding. I think that might have been riding over there. 10:03. I mean, my calls are right here.
Yeah.
So, obviously this is when I, at 10:06, can I have a piece?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Take a couple.
Anybody else want some gum?
No, sir.
You don't have any water, do you, Danny? That's all right. I don't need it.
If you behind Danny's head is Case of water.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah, I got some right here.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
I'm sure we're going to have much more questions.
I'm available at, you let me know.
What's another number in case I can't get you on your cell?
I don't have a house phone.
Okay.
An office number. I can give you my brother's cell phones.
All right. What's Randy's?
Okay, Randy's is 803-943-8881.
And John's?
John Marvin's is 843-321-5508.
And you said your dad's in the hospital?
Yes, sir.
Which hospital? Charleston or
Savannah, Candler, St. Joseph's.
Is he doing okay, or what's?
He's having a really, really hard time. He's got a lot going on. He's doing okay, given everything, but he's got a lot going on.
About Maggie's family, where are they?
Somerville.
Have you been in touch with them tonight?
Contacted, yes. I had my brother call Bart, the wife of his sister, the husband of Maggie's sister, so that they could go and tell Maggie's parents. I felt like they needed to hear it in person.
Mm-hmm.
And they are going there and calling me. So they must not be there yet.
Maggie's parents in Somerville?
Yes. And her mom just had a knee replacement surgery, and her dad really has trouble getting around nowadays.
Do you have any other children?
I do. I have a 24-year-old.
That's right, you said. What's his name?
Buster. Well, Richard Alexander Jr.
Okay. He goes by Buster.
He goes by Buster.
Is he here tonight?
He's on his way.
Okay. Laura, you got anything?
This one's hard, but when you first saw Paul, you said you tried to flip him over. Was he laying on his back or on his stomach?
Just like he is.
Just like he is. So you weren't able to move him. Okay.
No, ma'am.
Okay. And did he help Maggie a lot out here with the animals?
He helped everybody with everything.
Okay, so it was kind of routine for him to be out here as well in the evening?
This place is his absolute passion.
Okay.
I tried to turn him, and then I checked him, and I think I already knew, but I checked him.
And when you first pulled into the property, did you come from this direction where all our police cars are, or which way did you come in?
I went to the house.
Okay.
And then I came from the house
This way?
straight here. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Where my vehicle was parked is probably
is where it was. Okay.
Well, no, maybe not exactly, but it was pretty close because I came back the same route.
That's right, because you went back to get your shotgun.
When I came back.
All right. I can't think of anything else right now, but we'll certainly be in touch.
Thank y'all for everything y'all are doing.
Yes, sir. So, just to kind of let you know what's going to go on, we're going to be out here for quite some time. The coroner will take custody of Paul and Maggie.
Can I answer that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. What? No, let me. We're finished. Let me come out. Well, I'll be here when he gets here. No, don't let him come up here. Okay. Yeah. I think we're about done. All right. Thank you. So, I'm sorry.
Buster, in here. Okay.
Yes, sir. I dropped my card.
We'll get you another one.
Sorry.
I'll get you one.
Here you go.
Thank you.
So the coroner will come over and talk to you. They'll do the autopsy and everything, and then go from there.
Thank you.
But we'll come to you before we leave.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you, Miss Rutland.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Here, you want this water?
Oh, yes, please. Thank you.
Oh, so for me, that was really, really interesting. And so for anyone who's watching this on replay, I just wanted to go back because I just think that this part, this piece of footage that we have here is really important, and it's really important for a lot of reasons. Definitely leave me comments and let me know what you think. What seems strange to you. Yeah, so let's just go back. Let me just go back. Okay. Right. So straight off, the first thing that I say is that we've just heard from Alex that he attempted to take their pulses, Maggie and Paul. And for some reason, because I think Buster was face down when he was found. And for some reason, Alex, even though it would have been evident that Paul was dead because of his injuries, and trigger warning, half of his brain, half of his head was missing. And I must stop using that word. I'm unalived. I must remember to say that. So we hear him say that, but what we're seeing just doesn't, I mean, this is a clean shirt. This doesn't look like he has had this on for very long at all. It looks like it's freshly ironed. It's not, there's no blood on it. He doesn't look like it's sweating, or it literally looks like you said, Diggler, that he's just got out of the shower and put on some fresh clothes. And so straight away, that's the very first thing. And I think not just me, from what I've heard and seen, I think a lot of people, for them, that's what struck out to them as well. The second thing that I find really, really interesting is when we look at his pocket here, just look at my mouse. He has 2 pairs of glasses in that pocket. But when you look at the depth of the pocket, if we were to believe that this is a guy who's just come across his wife and his son, who are not alive, who have been brutally murdered, shot, executed. If we... Oh, you can't see my mouse. Okay, well, just look at his pocket. And like I said, he's got 2 pairs of glasses in this pocket, but the pocket isn't very deep. So if he was to come across that scene and he'd done the things that he said that he's done, they would have fallen out his pocket. He would have lost them. They would be on the floor somewhere in his rush to, attend the bodies and, to do the stuff that he was doing. Those would have come out of his pocket. And even if you was to say, well, okay, they might have fallen out, maybe he found them, put them back in, well then, wouldn't they have some blood on them, or wouldn't there be some blood on the pocket from where he picked the glasses up from the floor and put them back in? So that was the very next thing, apart from the shirt, was the very next thing that I thought about. And I just thought, that just doesn't look right. That's they would have come out. There's no doubt about it. That's really, really telling. I'm not sure whether or not that's been spoke about yet in the call, but if I was a prosecutor, I would have been all over that. I would have been all over that. I know they've spoken about the shirt, but I would have been all over the glasses. And this is why this kind of footage is so important when we go back and we're really looking at his actions and what he does. Even his hair. His hair looks just everything. We don't see any blood on his hands. This does not look like, to me, this doesn't look like a guy that has just done all of those things that he's just said. It really doesn't. So that was kind of what, first of all, struck out for me. And like I said, if you're watching this on replay, leave me a comment. What do you think? What do you make of the fact that his glasses are still in his pocket? Does it seem like it's not relevant to you? Do you feel it's relevant? Did you notice it? Is it important? So yeah, you're right. I mean, yeah. Yeah, he does. That's so Digley, yeah, the cop sort of looks like he's a bit sweaty from the day, but Alex doesn't. Exactly. If we were just to look at these 2 guys right now as they are, which one would you say was more than likely the person that have just found their son and their wife? I think if you didn't know better, you might think that actually the cop was the guy, because he seems, yeah, he looks a lot more rough than what Alex does, without a doubt. So let's just go on to let me just play. Oh, yeah. Okay. Right. Just bear with me just a minute, because I just need to go back and get the footage that I want to look at, which for some reason has just switched, which I didn't want it to do. Okay. So stop that, please. Thank you. Okay. Right. So I'm just going to have to go through this again. You're going to have to bear with me, everyone, please, because I'm self-taught and as you can all probably tell. So I'm just getting used to like navigating and doing my thing. Right. Okay. So let's just do that. Why can I not hear him? Okay. Okay. So here, I need to share my screen. It would help, wouldn't it? And okay. So do you see what he's doing there? And let me just check that you can see that. Oh yeah, yeah. Right. Okay, I think I've got it now, share. Right. Okay. So can you just see what he's doing here?
All right. Can you go back,
Unfortunately,
Alex?
we've got that sign in the way.
Yes, sir.
But he's cleaning his glasses.
And date of birth, Mr. Murdaugh.
And again, for me, it's almost like and I think that you'll find that he does this a lot actually. It kind of, it's a bit like what we saw with Chris Watts. You know, when he was using like his phone as a distraction, and I think we get the same kind of thing here with Alex, the way that he's kind of using his glasses as a bit of a prop, almost giving himself a bit of time to think. So I kind of felt that was kind of interesting.
May 27th, 1968.
And a good phone number for
So
you.
right now
803.
He looks quite composed.
942 1227.
You know, he's
As I
able
stated,
to
I'm
give
David Owen
dates.
in Lower Rutland with Colleton County, and I'm with SLED.
Able to give
I hate to have to do this.
I
but
understand.
yeah,
I totally
yeah,
understand.
yeah.
So you don't have any problem with it.
The cop there. I mean, there he is. He's wiping himself with a towel because he's sweating. And look at the difference. You know, Alex is literally, you know, he just looks like so cool. Completely different. This guy must have had a shower. He must have done, in my opinion. And that's really important as well, because everything that you hear me say is just my opinion, and shouldn't be taken literally. And just while I'm on that, I just want to thank Law and Order, because this is where I got this piece of footage from, which, yeah, it's so right. So let's just move on a bit. Okay.
Problem with it.
So
Right.
just
So
start at the top, take your time.
Like when I came back here, I mean, I pulled up and I could see them, and you know, I knew something was bad.
Okay, so he says that he pulls up and that he sees them. Now, this is where I might have to go back and look at the layout of the farm, because I'm not sure. I think when you go through the entrance of the farm, if I'm right, from what I remember, but we will cover this. I think that because it's quite, I mean, this is a massive property. I mean, it's absolutely huge. So I'm pretty sure as he goes into the entrance, the dog kennels are on their left, and these aren't like normal dog kennels. I mean, these are like purpose-built, like they're huge. And it was quite dark. And so again, I need to go back. We'll have to look at the timing, because would he have seen them? If he was just literally just driving down that driveway, would he have seen them on the floor? I don't know. So again, that's something that we will need to look into a bit more.
I ran out. I knew it was really bad. My boy over there, I could see it was.
So how does he know it's really bad? He jumps out of his car, and he doesn't say, to me, it doesn't seem to be an order. He doesn't say, I got out of the car and they were on the floor and I was confused. He jumps straight into that he knew it was bad. He saw them and he knew it was bad. And I just find that that wording is strange to me. And the order in which he relays stuff, I find, is really strange as well. Okay, so let's go to... So we start to see some emotion here, which will be normal. No, and they're comforting him, which is nice to see. And you know what? I think that what we see in there is, I think that's real emotion. I really do. And that's not to say that's because I think that he was the person that unalived them, because right now, you know, listening to this case, there's a lot of stuff to consider. But I think that he may be crying for himself. I think he might be crying because he's lost because he did love his wife and he did love his son. And for whatever reason, if we are to believe that he unalived them, that it was a last result, that he really didn't, you know, it had to be for the money. And maybe it's just dawning on him that, you're like, Christ, you know, is this what my life has come to? So I think that the emotion we're seeing here is real, but who it's in regards to, I think, is in question.
Sorry.
And I could see his brain on.
I mean, it's tough to watch, isn't it? Trigger warning, because this is horrible stuff.
And I ran over to Maggie.
We've got him fiddling about with his tissue.
Actually, I think I tried to turn.
And yet, there's no real tears, is there? But he's fiddling about with the tissue, but he doesn't actually need it, because he's emotional, yeah, but he's not. We're not seeing tears streaming down his face, not in any way whatsoever. So this next bit.
Turn Paul over first.
Sorry.
And I could see his brain on.
So this next bit, yeah. No tears.
And I ran over to Maggie. And actually, I think I tried to turn Paul over first.
Okay, so he says, I ran over to Maggie and then I tried to turn over Paul first. Well, you couldn't have done both. So which one was it? Did you run over to Maggie? Or did you run over to Paul and try and turn him over first? It can't be both. So which one was it? So, I mean, is this just because he's confused? Because of what he's seen? We know that he's just said that, his brains had been blown out. So why would he try and turn Paul over? What was he going to achieve by doing that? Yeah, you're right, Diggler. And he says, I think I tried to turn Paul over first. So again, it goes back to, well, what was it? Was it Maggie or was it Paul? Why is he thinking that he tried? And why would he have tried? So again, that just makes no sense to me. So again,
Actually, I think I tried to turn Paul over first. I tried to turn him over, and
Why?
I don't know. I figured it out.
What did he figure out? What did he figure out? Did he figure out how to turn Paul over? Because we know he didn't. So then he didn't figure it out, did he? So yeah, again, I mean that is very, very strange to me. Just that whole the way he says that.
His cell phone popped out of his pocket.
The cell phone pops out of Paul's pocket. Right, so I've got pretty up-to-date phones in my house. Well, mine's quite old actually, but my children have. And they can do a lot of stuff. They're able to do a lot of stuff. But I know what they can't do. And what they can't do is pop out of your pocket. Especially if you're unalived on the floor with your half your brain missing. Mobile phones don't just pop out of pockets. So did he take the mobile phone out of his pocket? Or had it fallen out of his pocket? Why does he say popped out?
I started to try to do something with it, thinking maybe, but then I put it back down really quickly.
Okay, so now he's putting his hands on the phone. So is that him padding out his is he padding out the fact that his fingerprints would be on the phone, that the phone was moved? He's trying to explain something here, and he's not doing it very well. Why is it relevant to him that he needs to talk about the phone in the kind of way that the way that he is?
Then I went to my wife, and
So now he goes to his wife.
I mean, I could see.
Did you touch Maggie at all?
I did. I touched them both.
Okay.
I tried to I tried to do it as limited as possible, but I tried.
Why did you try and limit it? What was you limiting? So you tried to limit it as much as possible. What did you try to limit? Did you try to limit the fact that you was touching them? Why would you even want to limit it? Wouldn't you? I mean, if I was faced with such a scene, I mean, I wouldn't be thinking about, because by him saying that, he's almost saying, he's trying to explain why he put his hands on them. But why would you need to explain it? Your wife and your son are on the floor. They're unalived, and why do you feel like you need to explain or say that you was limiting your contact with them? Makes no sense.
I had to take their pulse on both of them.
Okay, so he
Mm-hmm.
takes their pulse on both of them. In my opinion, I don't believe that happened. I just don't. And we don't see any blood on Alex. Again, let's go back to the shirt. Let's look at the glasses. Does this look like a man who is on his hands and knees over in a absolutely horrific scene in the midst of it? And does it look like he's tried to move anybody or take any pulses? Because I don't see that here.
And you know, I called 911 pretty much right away.
Well, you didn't phone 911 right away, did you? Because you did quite a lot. You've already told us that. You've already tried to apparently take their pulses. You've attempted to move Paul. You think you did, anyway. Phones are popping out of pockets. And now you're thinking about 911. So you didn't do it straight away.
She was very good.
Strange for me that he said she's very good.
I talked to her. I told her I was going to get off the phone to call some family members. I did that.
What family members did you call?
I called my brother Randy, and I called my brother John.
You could look at the fact that he wants to. He's bringing in the fact that he wanted to call for other family members in two ways. I mean, I don't think either way. It gives us a lot. You know, I think you could say, well, would he have been in the right frame of mind? And then on the other hand, would you not want to, you know, he was close to his brothers, and would that just have been a like a knee-jerk reaction? So I'm not going to read a lot into that.
And I tried to call a little boy, real good friend that's right around the corner from here, but I didn't get
That
him.
I find strange. What boy who lives around the corner? Why would he be relevant? So I get your brothers. You might want to call them. I don't get that you're saying that you wanted to try and call a boy who you don't know. You're not naming him by name, so he doesn't sound like someone you know very well. That you would want to call him for what reason?
What all was around Paul when you walked up?
Blood.
Anything else?
Look at his knees.
I mean, there were some body things, yes, sir.
I mean, like any other evidence. I know you said the phone fell out the pocket, but did you see anything else that didn't belong?
Actually, he didn't say it fell out. He said it popped out, but
belong or shouldn't belong, or that wasn't part of Paul?
No, sir. Not. No, sir.
How about Maggie?
No, sir.
You didn't see anything around them? What made you come out here tonight?
I went to, my mom's a late stage Alzheimer's patient. My dad's in the hospital. My mom gets anxious when she does. I went to check on them.
And he's fiddling around with
Maggie. Maggie's a dog lover, and she fools with the dogs. And I knew she'd gone to the kennel. I was at the house. I left the house and went to my mom's.
Again, I mean, look at that cop. Look, you know, wiping himself because he's really hot. And yeah, he's all hot and bothered and sweaty and completely different.
Just a little while. Tried to call her when I left. Texted her. No response.
just on that point, I think I saw that that was brought up in the call with the timings, and I think that's when that was the first time I kind of thought, oh, because I don't know, we'll have to go into this a bit deeper, but the timing of him, because there is a record of him making those calls, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of time between him coming across that scene and making the calls. So, and I know that it struck me as, oh God, I hope this isn't where they can say there's reasonable doubt. So for some reason, I feel like I need to say that, because I think that occurred to me when I heard it. But again, we'll look into that.
When I got back to the house was obviously nobody was in there. So I figured they're still up here fooling around.
Why was it obvious to him that there was nobody in there? Was there no lights on? Yeah, what was it that made him think there was no one at home when they should have been? Or he thought they were?
Paul was gonna be getting set up to plant. Sunflower seeds got sprayed and died, and he was...
Okay, so now we start hearing about the sunflowers. This is something that I hadn't really heard of before, and I'm not really sure of the relevance. They were apparently growing sunflowers. I just thought they were attorneys. I didn't think that they were using the land to actually grow anything that they were selling. But again, it's something that we'll look into.
Refiguring to plant the sunflower seeds. So I came back up here and I drove up and saw and called.
Okay, so you drove up, you saw, and you called. But we know that didn't happen because you've already told us that. You've already told us that you drove up, you saw them, you got out, you ran over to them. We can't work out which one was first. So you've tried to take pulses. You've done all of, so you didn't just get out and then ring 911. He's making all of these sniffing noises, and he's making those noises like he's clearing his throat. And I can't work out why. If I'm just checking the comments because I can't see the comments, just so you know, while I'm looking at the screen. So I will go back and look intermittently. So yeah, he keeps making these noises and like this noise on his throat. But it almost feels like it's forced, like he's forcing himself to do that so that he seems to be more upset. It doesn't seem natural. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Had Maggie and Paul been arguing over anything?
No.
What was their relationship like?
Wonderful.
Wonderful. How about yours and Maggie's?
Wonderful. I mean, I'm sure we had little things here and there, but we had a wonderful marriage, wonderful relationship.
And yours and Paul's relationship?
As good as it could be.
Okay. Right. So, actually, and that's a really good point to stop that video. So, he says, in regards to Paul, it was as good as it could have been. Let me just go back and check that because I want to make sure that I get that word in right.
How about yours and Maggie's?
Wonderful. I mean, I'm sure we had little things here and there, but we had a wonderful marriage, wonderful relationship.
And yours and Paul's relationship?
As good as it could be.
Okay. So it was as good as it could be. Why was it as good as it could be? That insinuates that there's a reason. He's almost saying because of I'm just trying to word this the right way. He's almost saying it's as good as it could be, considering what's going on. It's like in his head, by not saying, he's saying a lot. I don't know if this is even making sense. I'm kind of rambling here because I know what I'm trying to say. He's insinuating that there's a reason why it's as good as it could be, because there's a reason. There's something going on which is making him say it in that way. And this is where I believe that he starts to use the sunflowers and Paul and the boating accident and this farmhand, and I feel like all of this stuff really is irrelevant to what he's just come across at this point in time. And so for me, it feels very much like it's kind of rehearsed, but very carefully. And maybe he's trying to pad out a motive. He's trying to lay the grounds for a motive here. It's like almost he's leading himself into being allowed to bring up other factors which might have led to what's just happened.
How old was Paul?
22.
Okay. You know his date of birth?
I do. April 11th, 96 is his brother's. April 14th, 99 is Paul's.
What's Maggie's full name?
Margaret Brandstetter Murdaugh.
And her date of birth, sir?
September 15th, 1968.
She's only 5 years younger than me.
Have y'all been having any problems out here? Trespassers?
None
people breaking in?
None that I know of. The only thing what comes to my mind is my son Paul was in a boat wreck a couple years ago.
Okay, so this is where we hear the boat crash. But he has already brought that up in the 911 call, which was really odd to me, because why? I mean, yes, it was a big part of what was going on in their lives. And yes, actually, it had that crash had led to financially him unraveling, and maybe was causing some issues in regards to Maggie really loving the beach, because they didn't just have one property. I think they had 3, possibly 4, but one of them was a beach property which Maggie absolutely loved. And I think there was some kind of going back and forth about whether or not they needed to sell that, and because the finances were being looked at, and it was coming to light that some money that he had obtained wasn't rightfully his. So this is where we start to hear the boat crash.
And there's been he was charged with being arrested for being the driver. There's been a lot of negative publicity about that. And there's been a lot of people online, just really vile stuff. But when Paul's out and about, I mean, people routinely, I don't think I know the full story. So I don't think they give it to me. But I mean, he's been punched and hit and just attacked a lot. So,
I don't know whether that's true or not. I mean, I can imagine that there was a lot of anger directed at Paul regarding this, so that could well have been true. Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, nothing like this.
Yeah. Any one person in particular or group of people
I don't know.
that you could think of?
Not that I know, no, sir.
Has he, other than being assaulted, has he received any direct threats related to the boat accident?
Oh, yes. All the time he gets...
So this is important because he's saying that he's had direct threats, but to what degree? How does he know this? Because he's just said that he doesn't think he's being told a lot. So how does he know this? Because that would maybe point to Alex knowing or seeing stuff online, which is where I think would be the obvious place that Paul would have got threats. Because there doesn't seem to be any evidence of actual physical threats on his property or in public that I know of.
Recently?
Yes, sir. I mean, he gets them all the time.
Okay.
He gets them all
Where
the time.
does he get them?
What kind of, I mean...
And yeah, how do you know?
I'm gonna kick your ass, you know. I've never been privy firsthand, you know.
So if you're not privy firsthand, how do
Is
you
that through
know?
social media or?
No, ma'am.
person?
It's mostly like if he goes out places is what, you know, what he goes out like somewhere. He's in college, so if he goes out is what I understand. I can find out better details from some of his younger friends on that.
Who's his best friend?
He's saying he doesn't know, does
His
he?
best friend in Colombia is Will's Chapman, Will Loving, Bobby Boyle. Bobby Boyle, Will Chapman, and Paul were getting ready to move into a house together in Colombia.
You
I
said
wonder
Will.
if that was true, that he was planning to move out. It seems strange that he would be planning that. In regards to the fact that he had this court case coming up, and I'm pretty sure that because he was charged, that maybe Paul would have had to have been, he would have had to have given an address as part of his bail. That's me surmising. So yeah, I'd have to look at that. Something to look at.
Chapman and Will Loving.
Will's with an S,
okay.
Chapman, and Will with an L, Loving.
Okay.
Around here, his best friends are clearly Nolan Tootin and Rogan Gibson.
Nolan Tootin.
Yes, sir.
You know, and again, he's able to give a lot of details in a really calm way, considering the scene that he's just, come across. He's very calm.
And what was the other one? I'm sorry.
Rogan Gibson.
That tissue is still really, really dry.
Have you talked with any of these guys tonight?
Talked with Nolan, yes, sir.
Is he out here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I tried to call Rogan, was one of the people he's the boy that I told you lives around the corner.
Okay, so now he's just come out with the name of the boy that lives around the corner. And I still find this really strange because they're not, to me, these are not phone calls that any other person, if I put and this is in my opinion, if I came across a scene where, and that was my child, the last thing I'd be thinking about would be ringing around his friends. That's just not, that just wouldn't be a priority for me. It would be the 911, maybe you might call a family member, but you wouldn't be calling around his friends. You don't even know what's happened at this point.
That's very, he's just a good, helpful young man. You mind if I open the door really quickly?
Go right ahead. Do what you need to do.
He does that a few times with the door. I'm not sure if that's a distraction. Is that him, or is he giving himself more time to think about what he wants to say, or just giving himself that moment?
So is there anybody that you can think of that we need to talk to tonight? Is there a name that comes to mind?
I mean, I can't tell you anybody that I'm overly suspicious of off the top of my head.
Okay.
You know, I mean, this is such a stupid thing. I'm even embarrassed to say it, but it just didn't make any sense. I just hired a guy out here.
Okay, so just before we move on, 2 words he just says there. So he says embarrassed, and does he say ashamed? Really?
I mean, I can't tell you anybody that I'm overly suspicious of off the top of my head.
Okay.
You know, I mean, this is such a stupid thing. I'm even embarrassed to say it.
Stupid and embarrassed. Why would you feel stupid and embarrassed in this situation? I mean, this is, why? For what reason?
But it just didn't make any sense. I just hired a guy out here, and he wasn't cutting the mustard, but I hadn't told him this yet. Paul's been working with him a lot. He killed the sunflower seeds in our dove field just recently, which is why Paul was here doing this. He told Paul a story the other day about how...
Okay, so this is where we start to hear about this farmhand. And it's not a name that I've really come across, so I'm going to be looking into this. And this is kind of to do with the sunflowers. From what we can tell, this wasn't somebody that had been working with this family for a very long time. And he seems to involve this guy. It's strange to me that he brings him up. And so in my opinion, I think we need to look at the dynamics of the hiring of this guy, what his role was, why he wasn't very good at what he was doing. Alex was known to be, he didn't pull any punches. Alex was known to, to be able to say what he thought. Why had he not? We're talking about sunflowers. Why was it that he hadn't told him that he wasn't very good at his job? Because we know, I mean, this guy can tell people things. He wasn't a lawyer, for no reason. I mean, he was, good at arguing a case.
When he was in high school, he got in a fight with some black guys, and the FBI undercover team observed him fighting those guys and put him on an undercover team with 3 Navy SEALs, and that their job was to kill radical Black Panthers. And they did that from Myrtle Beach to Savannah.
What a story. I mean, that's just, where has that come from? Completely out of the blue. I mean, really quite far-fetched. We might have a little bit of a racism element there, because he mentions the colour, FBI. So in his own way, he's dropping some names, isn't he? And is this that bit of the story, is that rehearsed? Is this in his mind? Is this him setting up a motive which points away from himself? And I mean, it's very far-fetched. And again, to be able to give these details in the way and manner that he does, it is really telling.
Now, I really don't think this guy you know, is probably the person, but
So I really don't think this guy is probably the person. Well, if you don't really think this guy is probably the person, then why have you just told us what you've just said about the FBI and that whole kind of farcical kind of story? Why then? Why did you just say that to us? And so you don't think probably, you know, that's it's giving out very, very mixed vocal signals, if we kind of put it in that way.
that's just so freaking.
Yeah, that's kind of far-fetched
That's
story.
weird.
Yeah.
But he was off today.
Okay.
He took his daddy to the doctor.
What's his name?
CB Rowe.
Okay, so CB Rowe. Again, that's not a name. I just while I'm doing that's going to just check comments. That's not a name that I've really heard. Yeah. Yeah, it's like he might have hay fever. Maybe it's all them sunflowers and he needs to clear his sinuses. Yeah, very strange, isn't it? So yeah, that's definitely a name we need to look at, because that whole kind of relationship, like I said, was it a convenience? You know, was he hired to serve a purpose, and it wasn't really about the sunflowers?
ROWE?
Yeah, and I sent him a message to text me earlier today about the sunflowers, and he called me back when I was on the way to.
This is a high-powered lawyer, and he's messaging some guy who he hasn't known for very long, who isn't very good at his job, about sunflowers. And it's so relevant to him that while he's sitting in a car giving these statements, which he knows are being taped, that's really important to realise, that he's able to bring all of this into the conversation. It doesn't fit.
My mom's house.
Did you talk to him at that time?
Briefly, I was on the phone with a lawyer friend of mine named Chris Wilson from Bamberg, so I told him I'd call him back tomorrow, see him in the morning.
When you briefly talked to Mr. Rowe, what was his demeanor or attitude? Or
I mean, it seemed normal. I mean, I asked him about the sunflowers, and so, you know, I mean, I'm sure he's a little bit.
Where does he live?
I don't exactly know. Somewhere in in Bronson.
Okay.
So he goes from what, on one hand, he seems to know quite a lot about this guy, but actual details, sketchy at best.
Do you have his phone number?
I do.
Here we go again, wiping his nose with his very dry tissue, and there's nothing to wipe.
You got it with you, please, sir?
I do. You know, but I do think him and Paul got along pretty well. That's just really.
We don't see any evidence of blood or dirt. You know, this was a rainy night. Where those dog kennels were, that it was quite muddy, and we don't see any mud or blood on his phone, the phone that we know he used to phone 911 and numerous other people. Takes it out of his pocket very casually, looks completely clean.
Really weird. All right. CB.
Right there, in your lap.
Here, I know he called me, so I'll go to that.
And again, look at the glasses. You know, the glasses that are in that pocket that isn't very deep, that I'm pretty sure would have fallen out onto the floor when he was doing the things that he said. Look how clean they are. I mean, they don't even look like they've... I know he did a little bit of rubbing, didn't he? When he first got in the car, he was kind of attempting to clean them. But even that was half-hearted. I mean, just look at the comments here. So, Diggler, in these circumstances, I would have said to cops that I don't know if Roe did it, because I personally would be suspicious of everyone at this point. But maybe Alex knows it isn't Roe who done it. So, yeah, I mean, it's... Yeah. I think you're right. I think he would have been more convicted in what he was saying. And it almost seems like it's too wishy-washy, isn't it? It's... Yeah. So again, he's kind of giving out quite a lot of details, but he seems to be holding back as well. So it's like he wants them to have this guy's name. He wants them to be... He wants the cops to be thinking about this guy and his involvement. Yeah, it's odd.
Okay.
I mean, look at his
843-540-9335.
You need to get that phone on the charge, Alec, if you can.
Is that an iPhone?
Yes, sir.
Watch your leg for a second, please.
Thank you.
When did you tell that story to Paul?
Sometime last week.
Okay.
Okay, so that's quite a new story that that this farmhand had only just recently divulged to Paul. But it's so relevant to Alex that he feels the need to say. So he's almost kind of like hanging this guy out to dry, isn't he? But he hasn't put both feet in. It's half-hearted.
Sometime last week. My son Paul actually... And I really do not think, in all honesty, that it's him, but I know y'all got to check it out. But
of course they're going to check. Of course they're going to check it out. You're giving him a name. So, and he knows that. He's an attorney. He's a lawyer. He knows that.
Paul was so taken aback by it.
Was he? Why was Paul so taken aback by it? We're talking about this, Paul, we're talking about the same guy that, has potentially killed somebody, unalived somebody. Why would it be so outlandish to Paul? Doesn't strike me that Paul would have even kind of really thought much about it. Not from some of the details that I know and that I've seen with Paul's behaviour and the way that he was.
That he sent, I'll find it. I got it on my phone. He recorded him saying bits and pieces of it.
Right, and so again, that's really important. Why was Paul recording him? For what reason? Why? Who was he gonna... For whose benefit? Very strange.
Okay.
No.
Is this him laying out a bit of a motive? Like, this could be the reason, maybe because Paul knew too much. And so Alex again is insinuating stuff, but not with wholehearted kind of conviction, but just enough just enough to kind of pique their interest. And he knows that.
But for all his weirdness, I mean, I do think they they got along pretty good.
How long had he been working here?
I guess about 3 or 4 pay periods. So
Not long at all.
8 weeks, a couple months.
Okay.
I'd like to know why he hired this guy. I'd like to know where he hired him. What contact did they have prior to him employing this guy? I think that would be quite important to know.
Going back to the boat incident, anybody on that boat really have a hard on for Paul that you would think would come after him, or know of any direct threats from people on the boat?
I don't know of any direct threats between any of the people on the boat specifically, but I do think there's been a small amount of yip yap between a couple of them, but not recently.
So again, that's a little bit different to what he said earlier, isn't it? When he was talking about threats that Paul has had. And when he was talking about it earlier, he seemed to be saying that Paul was getting a lot of threats. And so to do with the boat incident, and now he's taming that down a little bit. Now he's given them that little, snippet of the farmhand. He's now kind of gone back a little bit on those threats. Like they weren't as bad as what he said.
Okay.
Most of this was stuff from people that Paul didn't really know.
Okay.
It was some people that he knew distantly, but
No sense.
More times than not, when I learned about it, it was somebody that he didn't know.
Okay.
How did he know that?
It's like, for example, he went out in Charleston a couple months ago, came back, he got a black eye. And, he can't defend himself right now because he has these charges. So, Paul was a real tough man's man.
Mm-hmm.
He would just.
So he's a real tough man's man. And yet he was so taken aback by the farmhand story that he apparently records it. Well, which one is it? Doesn't fit.
He would defend himself, but he hadn't been.
That's right. But
how was he handling that case? Moving over everybody.
As far as what?
How was he handling it?
I've never been prouder of him than the way he has handled the pressures and the adversity in that situation. I think I've told Danny that before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Paul.
I don't know does he actually believe that? Let's not forget, because of Paul and because of his actions on that night of that boat crash, that is what has led to Alex having to reveal his financial stuff for his fraud activity being uncovered, and possibly, in my opinion, why he's in the position he is right there and then. And he kind of looks away, doesn't he? He says it and he kind of looks away.
Paul is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful kid. He can do almost anything. He gets along with almost anybody.
Do y'all store any weapons out here?
We don't store them, but they're frequently out here.
Mm-hmm.
I need to find out if there were any out here, because I know there was a shotgun. There was a 12-gauge shotgun out here.
What does he mean by out here? Does he mean that he had guns on his property that other people could possibly have got their hands on? In other words, it would have been, quite easy for someone to have committed these crimes. Yeah, I mean, Alex seems to feel about suspecting Roe, but maybe deep down he knows it wasn't Roe because it was Alex himself, allegedly. Yeah, I think so.
I'll have to find out exactly when that was. I think it got put up, but I'm not positive.
What did that shotgun look like?
It was a camouflage. I want to say it was a Benelli or maybe a Beretta. I can't remember which brand it is. But I don't.
And when he's talking about the weapon there, he seems quite specific. So is he talking about the weapon that was used on them? Why? Why is he recalling the details of that weapon? Because presumably he wouldn't know what they were shot with. So why would he be mentioning what one in particular looks like when he wouldn't have known at this point what weapons were used?
I don't think it was out here.
Okay.
Recently. But I'm not positive.
And the shotgun that you had when deputies pulled up, where did that come from?
I went to the house and I got a gun. Probably overreacting, but
okay. So now he tells us that he went to the house and he got a gun. Well, when did he do that? Because he hasn't mentioned that at all. He didn't mention that in the 911 call. All that we've been told to this point is that he drives in the property, he comes across where the dog kennels are, which are quite away. They're quite far away from the house. So again, I'll get some maps and we'll kind of do a bit more of a deep dive into that. So, I mean, it wasn't a short walk. It was a short drive. So when did he do that? When did he go and arm himself? At what point did that happen? It seems strange that he's only now just bringing that into the conversation.
And was that when you pulled up and saw them?
No, I mean, I came out and I called 911 first.
Mm-hmm.
Talked to them for a little while, and then I told her.
You told her
that I was going to go to the house.
Okay, so he's faltering now, isn't he? Because he realizes that what he's just said isn't really making sense in the order of what he's saying happened. He's almost kind of putting this part in to the conversation as an afterthought, just to cover, because he's almost forgotten that was part of it, in my opinion.
Okay.
And that I would let authorities know when they got here that I had a gun.
Okay. Do you happen to have a list of all your guns?
I can make one. I don't have one, but I can make one.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying, so we could compare if that shotgun was out here and now it's missing.
Absolutely.
Try to figure that out.
No, absolutely.
And I know living out here in the country, you probably have more than one or two.
We do. We probably have 20, 25 guns.
Yeah. Shotguns, rifles.
Pistols.
Any rifles?
Yes, sir.
What kind of rifles?
All kinds.
Yeah.
All kinds. I mean, you name it, across the board, we have them.
Okay.
And I mean, all of them we have are, in a hunting room in our house.
What was their schedule today? When did they get home?
I like the fact that there was just that bit of silence there, wasn't there? so that, you know, like just waiting to see, was he gonna, you know, was he gonna add to that?
My son works for my brother, and he was coming home to deal with the sunflowers. He got here.
Again, sunflowers. His son was earning good money working for his brother. He's earning good money. Why is he involved in the sunflowers? No, it doesn't make sense.
Got here pretty early because he and I rode around looking at everything for a good little while, probably 45 minutes to an hour. Maggie had things she did in Charleston, and she had a doctor's appointment in Charleston, and she got back here. It was fairly late.
Was it dark yet when Paul got home?
No, Paul got home early.
Early, okay. So before dinner time? Before
Oh, yes, ma'am.
lunchtime? Or
No, ma'am.
What brother does Paul work for?
John Marvin.
And what does Paul do for him?
Everything.
Just handyman?
Yes, sir.
was it unusual for Maggie to feed the dogs this time of night or check on them?
Oh, no. I mean, she played with those dogs all the time. And it's especially common for her to, you know, she's been gone for a while, to come and let especially two of them out to run.
Okay, so she pretty regularly comes out here in the evenings?
Very regularly.
Okay.
She comes out here a lot.
So it's worth just mentioning. So this wasn't the usual place where Maggie could be found, because he says, you know, she came out here a lot. So what he's saying is, well, she didn't really stay there, but she did come out a lot because of the dogs. So I guess what I'm saying is, if this was a premeditated attack from a you know, from an outsider, would it not have been more probable that she would have been targeted at the home where she stayed the most? Because there was no kind of routine, you know, kind of written in stone routine of when Maggie would attend the dogs at the kennels. So you'd have to be lying in wait for hours, or, you know, because you wouldn't have known. But yeah, so it seems unlikely that then starts to seem unlikely.
Do you have any cameras on your property?
I have deer cameras, but none, you know, around up here.
So he has all this money, he's got this huge property, and yet there's no cameras, just cameras for the deers and stuff, you know. I think it'd be worth looking into whether or not there were cameras previous to this attack, and if so, when, and if so, where, because it seems highly unlikely to me, especially the fact that we know Paul was getting direct threats, that you wouldn't have some cameras on your property, even if you had them like so that you could see who was coming up your driveway, in front of the house. That seems really strange that you wouldn't have cameras put in place for, you know, in case something was to happen, to protect themselves, you know, for evidence.
Here.
Where are they at?
On different deer stands.
Okay, so deep in the woods.
Well, not necessarily deep in the woods. Some of them are in fields, and
yeah,
okay,
but not near the house.
But there's none that, you know, are near here.
Okay.
Why not?
What doctor's appointment? What doctor did Maggie see today?
I forget the guy's name. Maggie's been having trouble with her. She's been having trouble with her stomach and her tooth. I'm not positive. It was sort of a routine visit, and I can't remember. She told me the name of him, and I can't. I want to say Gordine
Okay.
is who I think she saw.
So was she back home around supper time, or 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock?
I don't think she got back quite that early. I think she got back a little bit later than that.
Okay. What did you do today? Were you at the office or?
Nope, I was home. I came home. Paul and I messed around. I was up at the house. I laid down, took a nap on the couch, probably, I don't know, 25, 30 minutes. I got up, I called Maggie, didn't get an answer, and I left to go to my mom's. She had said she might ride with me, but she normally doesn't when I go over there. And I think I texted her. And she's very good about answering the phone, so that was odd, or calling me back. So that was odd, but it wasn't that big a deal.
Now, what time was that?
What time was what?
That you sent her a text message.
All right. I texted her at 9:08, going to check on M, be right back. And then I texted her at 9:47. That must be when I started to come back. I think I called her before that, but let me make sure.
So like I said earlier, I think these phone calls are going to be, the timings of these messages and phone calls, I think are going to be kind of important as we see the trial continue forwards.
Pretty sure that I called her 9:45, and then I tried Paul, and then no, I think that was riding. I think that might have been riding over there. 10:03. I mean, my calls are right here.
Yeah.
So, obviously this is when I, at 10:06,
What he keeps doing. Oh, what he's doing.
can I have a piece?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. There you go.
Anybody else want some gum?
No, sir.
You don't have any water, do you, Danny? That's all right. I don't need it.
If you, behind Danny's head is a case of water.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah, I got some right here.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
I mean, he just looks so casual, doesn't he, here? You know, drinking his water. It's almost like he's forgot why he's sitting in the car and what he's talking about just for a moment. He's not shaking.
I'm sure we're going to have much more questions.
I'm available at,
Okay.
you know.
Okay, so I'm going to leave it there because really the most of the points that I really wanted to go over, we've kind of addressed. So as I said, for anyone who's watching this on replay, you know, leave me a comment and let me know, because it's important to me, you know, to hear other people's opinions and, you know, whether you're agreeing or disagreeing, or, you know, just to get some feedback on what you know, thought about this interview, and what, for, you know, what stuck out to you. So I think, yeah, so we're going to leave it there today. Thank you, Digler. You've been such an angel, for keeping me company. And we're definitely going to continue, you know, with this case. And we're going to be like deep diving into, you know, into all the different aspects. So I'm definitely going to be, we're going to be looking at the sunflowers. You know, we're going to be looking into the guy that this guy who was the farmhand, and what the relevance is with him, the boat crash, obviously, with Mallory, bless her, the housekeeper, and just the different dynamics, you know, Buster. And I think, you know, you'll agree that just by going through this piece of footage, which isn't particularly long, we've been able to find out so much. Oh, Diggler, you're so, I love having you, and I'm going to be making you my mod. I'm going to work out how to do that when I come off of this live, which I hope's okay with you, because you're such a love, and I'm definitely going to need your support. So, and I thank you so much for that. So yeah, you're going to be my mod, so you can get rid of any nasties. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Like I said, leave me comments, let me know what you thought, and we'll definitely be doing another live tomorrow, and I'll have a look and see what I think we should, following on from this, where I think we should be looking at going next. Yay, perfect. Yeah, you'll be brilliant. So have a great day, and thank you, Digler. Look after yourself and take care. And yep, I will be seeing you all very soon. So yeah, have a good day, and thank you. Thank you, Digler. Thank you, darling.